I am Noah. Day 3 since the door was sealed. The wood creaks at night, and I wonder who will break first, this hull or the people inside it. The rain hasn't stopped, but it has changed. Yesterday it hammered. Today it hisses. The sea lifts us in long breaths instead of punches. That should be a mercy. Somehow it isn't. When the blows ease, the minds begin to talk. The ark complains in 100 small ways. Beams settle with a tired groan. Pegs tick as ropes take new strain. The ribs answer each swell with a thud that runs along the deck, like a warning sent from one end of a line to the other. I know most of these voices now, good creaks, honest creaks, harmless groans. What scares me are the new sounds. The small, tight noises that mean a board has learned a lesson it didn't want to know. We start before dawn. Lamplight makes a yellow river along the center passage. The air is thicker than yesterday, more animal, less sky. I send Ham to the lower corridor with 2 buckets and a length of line to pull them up hand to hand. The water there is never still, only slower. He moves like a man counting steps on a ladder that has no top, patient and exact. Cam checks the lashings of the larger stalls. He walks the rails with his fingers, tapping knots to feel which ones answered the night and which ones slipped. Sem does our numbers, not the grand ones about days and cubits, but the small ones that make morning possible. How much feed a goat eats when it is nervous. How long a lamp can be coaxed to stand without smoke. How far we can stretch the last of the figs if we pretend not to miss sweetness. The lions are not roaring, they watch. The male lies stern to the aisle, head up, eyes open, the way a sentry sits when the gate is secure, but the world is not. The female sleeps with one paw over her nose. Every few minutes her whiskers twitch like grass in a small wind. We speak low when we pass. None of us wants to test whatever quiet treaty the night agreed to. A horse refuses water. It stands splayed, neck rigid, tail clamped, staring at nothing. Colic is a quiet enemy. It does not announce itself with drama until it is too late. Cam feels the belly, presses his ear to the flank, waits. Gases, he says. Not bad yet. He walks the animal 10 slow circles around a bale, then lifts the lip, checks color, rubs the base of the ear where a horse keeps its worry. No grain today, he tells me. Wet hay, a little movement and time. I nod. It is strange to think that time, which is drowning everything else, might heal a single horse. The goats have found a new way to argue. Yesterday it was horns. Today it is feet on the boards. A sharp drumming that sounds like a carpenter in a hurry. Sem fixes a divider that shifted 2 finger widths in the night, then shows the children how to twist straw into a longer, tighter rope. Like this, he says, turning, folding, turning again. Their hands copy the rhythm, and the sound of small work smooths the air. A ewe whose leg we splinted on day 1 puts weight on it for the first time. She takes 3 testing steps, decides the world is not ending in that part of her body, and lowers her head to eat. My wife smiles with her mouth closed and touches the ewe's shoulder like she is thanking it for being brave on our behalf. I walk the seam by the door and find a place where the pitch looks tired, dull instead of bright, tacky instead of set. It is not leaking, not yet. I mark it with a piece of chalk and call Ham up. He clears the soot from the lamp, brings the small pot, warms the pitch until it moves like slow honey. We press it in together, thumbs first, then with the flat of a knife, then the heel of the hand to seal warmth into warmth. The smell stings the back of my throat and settles in my beard. Again by dusk, I say. Ham nods. He has learned to check before I ask. The birds are better today because we are better with them. We raise the cloths a finger in the morning, lower them after feeding, lift them again at midday for air, keep them down by evening. The hawks glare, the doves murmur, the geese threaten to remember they are loud and then forget. A raven studies the sliver of light along the seam and tilts its head the way a man does when a puzzle is one move from solved. I move the cage back an arm's length and the puzzle becomes tomorrow's problem. There is a smell of ammonia where the pigs sleep. It is the kind of air that steals breath and surprises a throat into coughing. Cam forks out the worst of the soaked straw while I show the children how to scatter clean bedding in lines instead of heaps. Edges first, I tell them, then a ribbon down the center. If you lay it in islands, the islands drown, the smallest repeats drown softly, and sure if it is a word aloud indoors. I tell her it is, if it is used to keep pigs alive. We make our first big mistake just before midday. A stack of lumber we moved yesterday to steady a roll is braced, but the brace is too short and the sea finds it. The stack shifts 2 inches and a top plank slides into the aisle. No one is there, by grace or accident. We freeze, hear the long syllable of wood learning a truth, then move. Cam drives a proper wedge. Ham adds a cross lashing. I set a second brace at an opposite angle, so the two argue with each other instead of with us. We all stand and look at it until our chests agree to lower by 1 finger breadth. We leave it, I say. We do not touch it again unless it touches us. No one argues. A piglet slips between slats and finds the lower corridor. It squeals like a knife on a plate. Sem and I give chase. The deck is slick with the fine film of this life. We're choosing again every minute. I corner the piglet with a bucket, tip it over, slide it towards Sem, a fisherman with a net. He scoops, I lift. We carry the wriggling insult back to its mother. The sow snorts once, then does the ancient math of whether to scold or forgive. She forgives. My wife wipes my hands with a rag that used to be part of a good shirt and laughs once without making a sound. The laugh is the shape of relief. We eat a small meal in a ring grain softened in warm water, a slice of the fig my wife hid for when a day seemed too much like the last one. The children chew without complaint, because chewing is something a person can finish. I drink water that tastes like wood, and thank the wood for the gift. Sem says the lamp oil can stretch another day if we trim wick like misers. Hem says the seams on the port side like morning better than night, and we should schedule our check there at dawn. Cam says nothing, but he stands a little looser than he did when the plank fell. I say names each of theirs, a few of the animals, the arks, and gods, and feel the place inside my chest where names make the air stay. The wood creaks louder in the afternoon. It is not storming harder. It is that the long, slow swells press us into angles the ark held only for breaths yesterday, and now keeps for measures. Stanchions, I tell Cam. We cut 2 lengths from a spare beam, shave them to a firm fit between deck and over beam, and drive them in with mallets wrapped in cloth. The sound is dull and deep, thump, 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 as if we are asking the ship a question and it answers by accepting the post. We wedge the bottoms with shims, then lash the heads so they cannot wander. The next long swell rolls through and the overbeam grumbles but does not complain. Better, Cam says, and it is. The lions rise when we strike the second stanchion. The male watches our hands, the female watches our faces. They do not roar. They blink in that slow way cats do when they decide they are not alone in the room. I nod to them without smiling. Respect is not a grin. It is an angle of the head. We ration talk for the next hour. Not by rule, by instinct. Too many words wear the air thin. My wife moves through that hour as if it were a house she knows by heart. She moves a child without waking her, moves a pan without clattering it, moves a fear from one man to another without either noticing he was helped. She is my bravest thing, and I do not tell her that because brave people prefer to be seen, not praised. A snake has found the warmth near the lamp. It lies coiled around a peg, tongue tasting the little stream of heat that climbs. Sem notices, does not startle, cups it behind the head, and returns it to its box with the slow certainty of someone who wants his hands to go on being his. Lid, he says. Ham fetches a better one. We place a stone on top, not heavy enough to bruise, heavy enough to teach the lesson that lids teach best. Some doors are good when they remain closed. Toward evening, the horse with colic passes gas like a trumpeter who finally remembers a note. We cheer till loudly, and then all pretend we did not. Relief is a feast when the bread has been crumbs all day. Cam rubs the horse's neck. Tomorrow you'll hate me for walking you, he says. The horse flicks an ear as if to say that tomorrow is a problem he cannot smell. The wood creaks louder at dusk. Old houses do this when night cools one side and leaves the other warm. The ark does it too, but her cool is wet and her warm is breath. Pegs tighten. Ropes find new ways to be rope. A long, thin shriek runs through a seam at the bow high, not deep. High sounds frighten more because they sound like panic. I make myself walk, not run, to it. It is a rubbed place where plank meets frame. The two have been arguing all day, and only now decided to raise voices. I set a leather pad between them, tap it home with the flat hand, then run a wet rag along the joint. The sound drops from shriek to whisper. Talk softer, the wood. It does. We set watches. Ham first, he likes the first fight. Cam second, he can't sleep early, and he'll use the time to check knots 3 more times. Sem third, he will write the hour down in small letters so it doesn't think too well of itself. I will take last. Last feels like captain's work because dawn is when men want a different answer than the night gave them. Before the children sleep, the youngest asks if the ark will come apart. Truth, like pitch, must be warm or it cracks. All ships talk, I say. This one likes to talk at night. We'll give her stanchions and wedges, and she'll give us morning. The child blinks at the word morning as if it were a new animal. Does morning still come in a place with no windows? It comes in our eyes, I say. She accepts this the way children accept rain or rules. Temporarily and completely. When the lamps are low and the animals have made their last edits to the bedding, I sit by the door with the journal. The door feels cooler tonight, the pitch set firm. I press my palm against it and feel nothing from the other side, which is everything I want to feel. My hand smells of tar, straw, and oil. I am a man who builds, then listens to the building argue with the water. I did not know this would be my life. I did not know I could do it without shouting. The wood creaks again, 2 long notes from the same place above the port beam we wedged. Not danger, but not nothing. I make a mark in my mind and on Sem's strip. Port stanchion check at dawn. Ham pads by with his bucket, eyes half closed. Mind working the map only his hands can read. Cam moves past later, a shadow that stops at each knot, and touches it like a priest with a blessing. Sem sleeps, the snake box now correctly lidded under his feet, as if a piece of risk makes his dreams stay near. The lions do not roar. The male blinks. The female twitches again as if chasing a memory. The ark hums in the way large quiet things hum when they are pleased with their own company. I write one last sentence before the lamp denies me more. The wood creaks at night, and I wonder who will break first, this ship or us. So far, both are teaching the other how to bend. The night creaked itself into morning, every board of the ark shifting as if in dream. I did not sleep. I counted sounds instead, the long groan of beams, the quiet drip of condensation down the walls, the small feet of mice who've learned to live like thieves among kings. Somewhere above, Cam shifted on his watch, his steps tracing a path I could find even with my eyes closed. When the first gray came through the cracks, I lit the lamp again. The light was small and honest, the kind that refuses to promise more than it can give. I woke Ham and Sem. They rose like men who'd been pretending to sleep. My wife was already up. She always is. She fed the doves before her own children, because she says peace needs practice. The ark smells heavier this morning, smoke, dung, salt, pitch, sweat. A stew of life that keeps us awake and alive in equal measure. We've learned to walk slower, breathe through cloth, and talk less. Voices carry too far in a place like this. They come back to you changed. The goats had found a way to chew through rope overnight. Clever mouths, foolish creatures. We found them where they shouldn't be, standing proudly among the sacks of grain like kings of their own mistake. Sem laughed, a sound so rare it startled the oxen. We tied them back tighter this time. Cam muttered, "They'll find another way," and he's probably right. The rain outside has steadied to a rhythm you could almost call gentle if you didn't know what it hides. But the sea has teeth. Now and then, a swell hits broadside, and the whole ark groans in reply. The wood complains, then settles. Ham taps a peg back into place with the patience of a man teaching a stubborn child to behave. The lions woke with the sound of thunder, not from the sky, but from the hull. A long rumble that made the lantern sway. The male stretched, jaws wide, and let out one sound, half roar, half sigh. It rolled through the ark and settled somewhere under my ribs. I watched him for a long time. His mane clumped with moisture, his chest heaving slow. When his eyes met mine, there was no challenge in them, just recognition. Two living things that know the cost of holding everything together. Cam joined me, rubbing his wrists. He doesn't look angry, he said. No, I replied. He looks tired. The horses are quieter today. The one that was sick is walking again. Its ribs show too sharply, but its ears are up, and that's enough for now. My wife brushes it with calm hands. The animal leans into her touch as if remembering a meadow it will never see again. The elephants eat slow and steady. You can tell when the ark tilts they sway in rhythm to keep balance. Their calm helps. I stand near them when my heart races. Something about their breathing teaches you to pace your own. Hem comes to me with bad news. The lower corridor's flooding again. Not much, but it's rising faster than before. We go down together. The air there is colder, the light dim. Water laps against the barrels. Ham kneels, touches the seam. No leak, he says. It's the rain finding a way through. We bail again. It's endless work, buckets up the ladder. Dump, return. Each bucket feels heavier than the one before. I lose count after a while. When we're done, my back feels carved from the same wood as the ark. Cam brings down more pitch. You could build a whole world out of this stuff, he jokes. His voice cracks halfway through the laugh. We all laugh anyway. The sound helps. When we come up again, the air feels better, thinner, easier to breathe. The children are awake. My wife is teaching them how to grind feed for the smaller animals. The youngest hums a tune I don't know. The sound threads through the ship like sunlight through smoke. Then the creaking starts again, louder this time. The boards flex in protest. The ark shifts left, then right. Sem shouts from above. Wave coming. We brace. The whole world tilts. Grain spills. Buckets roll. A lamp goes out. For a moment, it feels like the sea wants to take us back. Then it's over. The ark steadies. The creaking becomes breathing again. I realize I've been holding my breath for nearly a minute. Ham slaps the nearest beam like a man thanking a friend for not dying. Still with us, he says. Barely, I reply. We spend the next hour repairing what the sea tried to undo. A split post here, torn rope there. Every small act of fixing feels like defiance. I start to think maybe that's what faith really is, not the loud prayers, but the quiet repairs. By midday, the rain thins again. A strange stillness fills the ark. The animals sense it too. Even the mice pause. For the first time since we sealed the door, I hear my own heartbeat clearly. It's slower than I remember. Sem brings me his ledger. Feed is low, he says softly. Not dangerously yet, but close. I look at the numbers. He's right. Too many mouths, not enough patience. Will rations starting tonight, I tell him. Smaller portions, more water. We keep them alive, not comfortable. He nods, though the guilt in his eyes mirrors mine. My wife overhears. And us? She asks. The same, I answer. If they go hungry, we go hungry. She says nothing, but I see the resolve settle on her face. She's stronger than I am. She always has been. The children nap again, curled together under a blanket that smells of smoke and straw. I take the time to sit by the door, my back against the frame. The wood is warm from our breath, from the work of living. It creaks softly now, a tired sigh instead of a scream. I trace the grain of the wood with my fingers and whisper, "Don't give up on us yet." For a moment, I swear, I feel the ship breathe back. When evening comes, we light fewer lamps to save oil. Shadows stretch long across the deck. Every flicker makes the animals' eyes glow in the half-dark. It's strange how many worlds can exist in one space. Fear and faith, hunger and hope, all packed between walls of timber. Cam starts humming under his breath. Ham joins, off-key but earnest. My wife smiles without looking up. Even the lions lift their heads, listening. The ark sways gently. The rain turns to mist. The creak's slow, softer now, more like conversation than complaint. I write in this journal, by the light of a lamp that trembles. The wood creaks at night. It has learned our weight, our fear, our prayers. Every sound it makes reminds me we're still here. It bends, and so do we. Maybe that's what survival is, learning how to bend without breaking. Night again, but not the kind that hides you. This night pushes against the boards and listens back. The creaks have returned with the new edge short, tight, as if the wood's patience has splinters. I send Cam up to walk the upper brace line with the lamp hooded in his hand. Ham takes the port seams. Sem sits with me to mark any sound that repeats. Repetition is the language of trouble. The lions are awake but quiet. The male sits like a statue, ears forward, eyes on the corridor. The female's tail flicks once every few heartbeats. They're reading us, measuring our nerves the way they measure distance to prey. I'm grateful for their silence. One roar right now, and the goats will try to climb the ceiling. A new tick-tick-tick comes from the forward beam, too fast for water, too light for rope. I point. Sem hears it too, and nods. We go together, up close. The sound becomes clear. A peg walkwood moving around the dowel that pins beam to beam. It can be nothing. It can be everything. Ham arrives without being called, a wedge already in his hand. Thin first, he says. We tap a sliver into the joint, breathing with the ham rod against it. The tick slows. One more tap, and it stops. We wait a whole minute to make sure we didn't teach it a different way to complain. Quiet. Mark it for morning, I say. Sem writes FW'll peg wedged rechecked on his strip. The sea hits us a beam, not a crash, an insistence. The arc leans and stays lean long enough for a man to make a bad choice. Barrels murmur against their staves. The donkey plants all 4 feet and stiffens. The elephants, saints that they are, widen their stance and share weight. We wait it out. The arc considers the angle and decides against it. She comes back. Relief smells like old rope and breath through a cloth. We cut rations after the second watch. Less for the horses, more water for the goats, a handful for the pigs that keeps them from inventing a riot. My wife divides, and no one argues with her knife. The children accept smaller bowls without complaint. They have learned that complaint creates work, and work is the only coin we're short of. I take half what I want, and wanting half of that feels like a luxury. Ham watches me do it and mirrors me without the theater of sacrifice. Cam pretends not to look and does the same. Sem writes nothing about it. Some math belongs to trust. A horse stumbles hard. The same one we walked for colic. Not the gut, now the leg. Cam's hand is already on the fetlock before the animal knows it hurts. Splint, he says. We have 3 good slats left and a dozen mediocre ones. I tell him to spend one of the good. He doesn't argue. My wife brings linen. We wrap, test, rewrap. The horse rests the hoof and exhales like a person. Walk at dawn, Cam says to me, voice low. Slow. 10 circles. 10, I answer. We will keep the promise if dawn lets us. A sound like a long whine comes from the bow, friction, not fracture. The leather pad I set earlier must have shifted. Ham is already moving. He pulls the pad, wets it, sets a second thinner one beside it, then laces the 2 with the strap through small holes. A stitch for wood. The whine drops to a murmur. He thumps the beam with the side of his fist and says, "Talk nice." The beam obliges. He grins at his own luck, and the grin makes him younger than the flood. The mice test us again. They're learning our habits as we learn theirs. Sem and I reset 2 box traps with a smear of crushed fig at the hinge to tempt them to the wrong conclusion. It works. We release them 2 decks down into the snake corridor. It feels cruel. It is necessary. Mercy to one is cruelty to many, my wife says quietly, and I hate that she's right and love that she says it so I don't have to. The birds need air. We lift the cloths a hand's breadth and waveboards to move the heat along the aisle. The doves settle again with little coos like stitches. The hawks watch the motion of our hands. I watch theirs back. Everyone here is counting something. The wood creaks louder toward midnight. Temperature shifts do that in a world made of breath and rain. 2 stanchions take turns complaining like old men remembering surgeries. Cam goes to them with shims, gently tapping the thin wedges home until the thrum evens out. What if we run out of shims? He asks. We won't, I say. He knows I don't know that. He accepts it anyway, because certainty is a tool, same as a wedge. A ripple of unrest passes through the middle deck. The goats start it, always the goats. One rears, hits a slat, rattles the whole row. The sound startles a sow, who swings and knocks her pan into the corridor. The clatter spooks a horse, which stamps. Before the stamp becomes a bolt, the male lion stands. He does not roar. He just stands shoulders high, head forward, tail stiff. The movement flows through the arc like a hand laid on fevered skin. Animals quiet, one after the other, an obedience older than words. I meet his eyes and nod. He blinks, slow, then sits again. I owe him more than I can pay. Ham's lamp sputters. We all smell it at once. Smoke turns sharp when a lamp goes wrong. He cups it, trims the wick, feeds the flame a drop of oil like a mother nurses a thin baby. It recovers. 6 nights, he asks Sem, a joke with worry inside it. 7 if we're saints, Sem answers. We are not saints. We are people who count carefully in the dark. A new drip forms along the starboard seam. Not a pour, not a leak that wants to be a river, just an idea of water. I set a pan under it and touch the seam. The pitch is firm. The damp is the air gathering on the coldest path. Still, I mark it. If it thinks about becoming a leak, we'll catch it in the thought, I say. Sem writes std seam condense. Watch and scratches a small star beside it. Stars in our ledger mean things that look small, but wake you at night. Cam comes down from the upper brace line with a look I don't like. He is holding his left arm close. Not with drama, with economy. Beam bit me, he says. A jagged splinter stuck him when the halyard. It's deep but clean. My wife washes it with boiled water, presses the edges, binds it with a strip she tore from a part of her tunic no one will miss. Cam hisses between his teeth, then grins at her like a boy. You'll scar, she says. Then I'll remember it's mine, he answers. I give him a different job for a while, not because he's hurt, because men that pretend not to hurt break tools. Sem brings me the tally. We can't pretend about the figs anymore. There's half a sack left, and the damp is trying to eat it before we can. Tonight, I say. Sweetness now, starch later. We split the figs into eighths and pass them as if passing law. Even the lions get a piece mashed into their feed. The male sniffs, accepts, and for the first time in 2 days makes a sound that isn't a warning or a watch. It's almost a purr, but not soft, more like a door that opens because it recognizes the hand. Another lean from the sea. The arc holds, but the angle finishes what fear started in Ham. What if this is the day the wood chooses no? He says, quiet, to me alone. Then we choose yes louder, I answer. It's not wisdom. It's the only sentence I can lift. The horse with the splint dozes standing. Cam strokes the neck and hums an ugly little tune he learned when he was small. The horse likes it better than mine. My wife waters the rabbits and sets the cup just so, her eye judging distance better than any rope. The children sleep tangled, hands on each other's wrists, as if checking pulse. I sit by the door and count breaths, not to calm myself, but to keep from adding weight to a ship that already carries too much. Near the end of second watch, the creak we've been listening for, not the harmless one, not the old house sigh, the other one returns over our heads, starboard aft. A quick chatter as if 2 planks are gossiping about breaking. I'm up the ladder before my knees can object. Cam meets me at the corner with the lamp and his bad arm forgotten. We find the joint, frame to beam, the lash loosened by a day of little insults. We add a cross brace, short and mean, that forces the 2 to behave. The chatter stops. Write it, I tell Sem through the deck. Done. His voice floats back. The lions finally stand together, stretch, step to the bars. The male leans his head into the slats. I step close enough to smell him wild, rank, clean in the way clean means true. He exhales, not a challenge, a check. Present? Present. I answer out loud because my throat needs the sound. Present. For a while after that, the ark is as still as a ship can be on a living sea. We take the gift. Ham sits with his back to a stanchion and dozes with his eyes open. Cam tests his splint arm by lifting a small crate and deciding it can wait. Sem writes a sentence and folds it under the lamp so it won't run away. My wife moves the blanket higher on the sleeping children and then does the same to me with the look I don't deserve. I open the journal and write this plain. Night teaches us which noises lie and which tell the truth. The lying ones shout, the true ones repeat. We answer truth with wedges, ropes, hands, and yes. We answer lies by not adding our voices to them. When I finish the line, the arc creaks once long, low, familiar. I pat the board beside my knee. We heard you. Far off. Thunder speaks without walking toward us. The rain keeps its fine hiss. The sea goes on with its job. My family breathes. The lions lie down at last. Their paws twitch, and I imagine their dreams are about grass and horizon. Ours are about morning and enough. I am Noah. Day 3 leans hard but holds. The wood creaks. We bend with it. We are not broken yet. The last watch belongs to me. It always feels longer than the others, not because of time, but because it carries the weight of deciding what the day meant. The lamp is trimmed to a thin, steady tongue of flame. The rain is a whisper. The arc creaks like an elder clearing his throat before a small speech. I listen, pencil ready, not to be poetic, only to be exact. I start with the checks that make morning possible. Starboard seam. The pan beneath it holds only a skim. I wipe the rim with a rag and feel the wood. Cool, not cold. Damp, not wet. The pitch is firm. I mark the spot again with my thumb. The oil from my skin is a kind of reminder. Port stanchion. The wedge we set is tight. The lash right. The top pad not walking. A soft tap answers with the kind of hollow that means I'm awake, but not angry. Aft lash. The cross brace we added in the night still carries its share. I pull the knot, feel the flex, adjust a finger's breadth. Good. Ham snores once in a short, apologetic way and stops. Cam shifts on the upper deck and says something to nobody. The word doesn't matter, the tone does. He sounds like a man who believes in the next thing. Sem has the ledger folded under his cheek. I slip it free, read the last line. Recheck forward peg at dawn. I place the strip where his hand will find it when he wakes. The lions sleep. The male's chest rises and falls like the sea in miniature. The female's paw kicks twice, then settles. I walk near, slow. Their smell is strong but honest, what sweat would smell like if it had claws. I don't linger. Respect is distance understood without offense. The horse with the splint shifts weight. I stand with it. The eyes clear. The ear flicks. The breath is normal. I speak low, naming simple things. Halter, lead, step, stop. Not commands, companionship. When the arc rolls, I lean how it leans. When it comes back, I soften my knees. The horse copies. We both learn. A small clatter from the birds. The cloth on the raven's cage has slid. The bird pecks at the seam, as if chiseling a door only ravens can see. I slide the cage back another hand's breadth and add a peg to the cloth. The raven tilts its head and blinks with the authority of a magistrate who has decided not to fine me this time. Tomorrow, I tell it, and it seems to accept the appointment. In the lower corridor, the water is thin and silver along the boards. I take a bucket without waking Ham and work a slow rhythm dip. Lift, step, pour. The sound is almost friendly. On the third bucket, I pause and listen to the hull speak to the sea. Not anger, not yielding. A negotiation between two stubborn things. It comforts me more than any speech would. The world is still making deals. Back on the main deck, I set a hand on the door. The pitch has a skin to it now, smooth and sure. My palm print from yesterday is gone under the new, which is as it should be. Doors should keep our weight without keeping our shape. Beyond it is whatever is beyond. I do not ask it for news. It has one job. I have mine. I allow myself a memory, short and useful. The last morning before the rain, I walked the fence of our old field and found a loose post. I set a stone against it and told myself I'd fix it later. Later never came. The flood took the fence, the post, the whole hill. I carry that post with me now like a small stone in the shoe of the mind. Fix the small things when you see them. They don't stay small. I look around and find one. A low pan that always wobbles on a splintered slat. I wedge a chip under it. The wobble stops. It is nothing and everything. A faint grind from the bow. The leather stitch Ham set earlier has dried and shrunk. I wet it with a rag and press the seam so the straps lie flat again. The sound stops. I write bow stitch re-wet at dawn on the margin of Sem's list. The children stir. One mumbles the beginning of a song and forgets the rest in the next breath. My wife's hand reaches, automatic. and finds a shoulder without looking. She sleeps again. The muscles of her forearm tell the story of the day better than my pages do. Lines of pitch dark in the creases, a burn just beginning to heal, a new nick from where a tin lip bit her, and she would not put it down. I want to kiss the nick and don't, because she would wake and ask if something's wrong. Nothing is wrong. That sleep will not help more than talk. There's a shy wind at the vent. I open it 2 fingers. The air that comes in is cold enough to bite, clean enough to forgive. I let it draw across the deck and then shut it before the ark wants to shake. The air wakes the rabbits. They nose the wire and then return to the small work of being alive. I think of how much of this voyage is rabbits and wire and hinges and wicks. A world goes on the way a door goes on its pins. Not glorious. True, I take the splint horse for that promised walk. Cam appears as if conjured by his own instruction. He nods to me, and we move 10 slow circles around a bale. The hooves make a sound like a hand patting a table. On the 5th circle, the horse tests the leg. On the 7th, it relaxes. On the 10th, it snorts and decides we have done enough. Good, Cam says to the animal, to me, to himself. He rubs its neck and the horse leans into it like the ark herself leaning into a wave. Sem wakes and finds the strip. He reads, blinks, and stands without speaking. He takes the small mallet and the thin wedge, and we go together to the forward peg. Up close, it looks less proud than it sounded in the night. We tap once. Wood answers with the flat note that means, home. Sem writes a check mark and the time. He is stingy with checks. I trust them. Ham wakes at the smell of warmed pitch. I can do it, he says, even before I ask what it is. We make a slow round of likely places: the starboard seam with its pan, the old crack by the oxen, the square of pins that loves to forget itself next to the lion pen. We touch, we press, we do not fuss. Pitch works best when not made to prove itself. The lions wake with the ship. The male stands, shakes one's paws thud, mane wet, and looks at me. Not through me, not around me. At me. I raise my palm, fingers open, and hold it there. Not a promise, not a plea. A fact, I am here. He blinks twice, slow, and turns to drink. The female drinks after him, then lies down with the contentment of a creature that knows the next thing in its day. I envy that. I also learn from it. I make the next thing for us. Breakfast. Rations are smaller, and I do not lie about it. Less today, I tell them, and we will outlast the rain. Water with every bite. Chew longer. The children nod like small soldiers. Ham raises his bowl without comment. Cam finishes, then licks his thumb and uses it to collect crumbs as if he were saving 1,000 things, not 3. Sem eats distracted, eyes on tomorrow's column. My wife's eyes meet mine when the last bowl is handed out, and the look says, we can do this if you keep saying plain things. I say a few more. After eating, we air the birds. After birds, we check knots. After knots, we rest 15 breaths each, real rest. Not watching, and they accept the list like weather. A soft, surprising sound cuts through the morning. The smallest child laughs. Something trivial did it. One rabbit sneezed and scared another into leaping, and the second rabbit's surprise startled the first into stillness so complete it looked like thinking. The laugh travels from pen to pen, man to man, as if someone opened a window. Even the lions lift their heads and do not frown. The ark creaks in a tone that sounds almost like agreement. We air the birds. The doves peck their seed with renewed industry. A goose debates honking and saves it for later. The hawks maintain their opinion of us. I take the raven's cage by the handles and move it a hand's breadth again. The raven returns my stare with the unreadable eye of a judge who secretly enjoys being surprised. Tomorrow, I say again. I am becoming a man who can live with that word. The sea stays in the background. Swells come and pass without argument. The ark accepts each, refuses none, and returns to her line as if following chalk we cannot see. The creaks at this hour are friendly. A plank remembering a day in the sun. A peg noting the weather. A rope thinking about a story it will tell if ropes told stories. I let the friendliness in, not as a claim that we are safe, but as proof that danger is not the only voice. I take time to sit with each of my sons apart from work. With Ham, I ask him to show me the path his eyes walk when he looks for leaks. He points, not in a circle, in a pattern that leaps and returns, like a sparrow in a hedge. It's quicker this way, he says. He is right. With Cam, I put my hand on his bandage and say, "You can stop trying to prove you're iron." He rolls his eyes, then grins because he knows I see him and am not asking him to be softer than he can be. With Sem, I read one sentence from his ledger aloud: "We keep people alive, not comfortable," and tell him to add, when possible, "We keep them kind." He writes it without the particular smile he uses for lines he thinks will embarrass me later. Good. A small emergency insists on being chosen. The lower corridor mist with the finer, chill damp, the kind that makes lungs complain. We warm a stone by the lamp and set it in the bucket there to nudge the air up a degree. Like a hearth the size of a hand, my wife says. The children want to watch the steam curl. I let them for 10 breaths. Science is not a word we own, but it is a thing we do. Before the end of my watch, I write what the day has taught so far, in words even a tired man can understand tomorrow. The wood creaks, and each creak has a meaning. Answer the fast ones with a wedge. Answer the long ones with a brace. Answer the small ones with patience. Answer the loud inside us with work. If a thing wants to be fixed, fix it. If it only wants to be heard, listen and let it pass. A low thunder rolls far away. It doesn't come closer. The rain keeps its thin voice. I close the journal and stand. The ship sways. My knees answer. The lions finish drinking. Their tails settle. The children wake properly. My wife ties her hair with a strip of linen and looks like command without the need to speak it. I call the morning, not with a shout, just the sentence that keeps us from drifting into waiting. Work in order, I say. Air, check, feed, rest, then again. It sounds small. It is the size that saves. I am Noah. Day 3 ends where day 4 must begin, with wood that creaks and does not crack, with people who bend and do not break, with animals that teach and forgive us. If something yields tonight, we will answer it. If something holds, we will thank it. If the door says nothing, that will be its best word. For now, hose the lamp to a bead and let the ship speak the last sound. It says the same thing it has said all day. I am with you if you are with me.